Uh, Thank you so much, Gary, and thank you, Gary, so much for inviting me today. Just a little bit of a brief introduction about who I am. Gary invited me after I did, some would call it a presentation, maybe it was slightly less than that, at the Northamptonshire Black Communities Together meeting around the government's racial disparities report. So Northampton Black Communities Together is a very, very new grouping of Northamptonshire Black organisations and also stakeholders in issues relating to race equality and allies. Um, as an individual, I'm chair of Dostio Asian Women's Group in Northamptonshire, and I also work for Northamptonshire Rights and Equality Council. And I am going to talk about the report, but I just think there is something so very significant about today and the links with that report. So the things that are so significant was the tragic, absolutely needless, horrific waste of life that was the death of Stephen Lawrence. Horrific as it was, did create some really groundbreaking kind of concepts in racial equality as a result of the publication of the Missing Person Inquiry Report. I mean, I've been around a long time, and kind of prior to that, when we used to talk to the police about racial attacks, it was always alleged racial attack. Always, you had to get over that hurdle first. And there were two really key issues concepts that came out of the Macpherson Inquiry Report. The first of that was this thing around that you have to believe victims. Yeah, and that fundamentally was a key piece of really basic learning that came out of the death of Stephen Lawrence. In terms of he was not believed, Dwayne Brooks was not believed, his family were not believed, no one was believed. And the fact that actually out of the Macpherson Inquiry Report, you got this thing around the definition being that victims from point one are believed was a big issue. And the second big important concept was this other concept about institutional racism and the issue around organizations at their very heart having racism, and the concept that actually you're not going to find racism unless you go out there and look for it. And there needs to be that activity of going out there looking for racism in order to tackle it. Now, the way that this links back to that report, so this was commissioned by the government as a result of a summer of discontent with a wide range of demonstrations right up and down the country, and of course in other countries, in relation to the Black Lives Matter movement. So some of the vital statistics about this, it was 264 pages long, and it was published on Wednesday, the 31st of March, and significantly, it was published at 5 p.m. So it was published at the end of the day after a series of days of drip, small bits of information being kind of fed out to the press on the basis that the press should report it as is, without any kind of critical analysis of it. And there was so much uproar around it when it was actually published because of the kind of things it said and its celebration of actually the issues around racism in the UK and how the UK should be seen as a model country. Because of all of that, there was an absolute outcry, and you got the situation that unprecedented situation where the government was actually releasing further kind of rebuttals of concerns on Good Friday. And even after that was produced, people were reading it and finding out there was less and less within it. I mean, it said that Britain is not yet a post-racial society. It said race and racism are becoming less important. And in fact, it said the UK should be regarded as a model for other white majority countries. And in the summary, it added there were shrinking ethnicity pay gaps, and there were successes in some ethnic minority groups, and to a lesser extent in the economy. It came out with 24 recommendations, and as soon as it came out, even some of the people named in the report were stating that they weren't even consulted. They were maybe one of them was invited to a Zoom meeting which he thought he was going to attend with other historians, and when he got there, actually there were no other historians. He didn't know what the scope of the report was, and only afterwards, having Googled the names of the people in the Zoom meeting, figured out it was this racial disparities report. And I think the other really, really critical thing about this is that after the whole of a summer of discontent, thousands upon thousands of people going out of the streets screaming Black Lives Matter, the whole issue of kind of the hostile environment was not looked at all. And in particular, in this report of over 260 pages, the word Windrush, it was mentioned twice, and yet here was this critical failure of policy, failing black communities, failing particularly those people who kind of had devoted their entire lives to rebuilding this country, only to be told, to be faced with the policy of deport first, appeal later.
I remember you sitting on the stoop with your boys, your cousins.
There's a piece in The Guardian today by Diane Abbott, and she, again, critically linked both the racial disparities report and the Macpherson Inquiry report. And I think it's hugely significant, because whereas the Macpherson Inquiry report brought us, kind of light years further, this report has not, coming out of government, has taken us light years back. And I just can't tell you how many people have actually come out against expressing disquiet about it, to the extent that you've even got a UN working group who's in their report about it saying in 2021 it's stunning to read a report on race and ethnicity that repackages racist tropes and stereotyping into facts, twisting data and misapplying statistics into conclusionary findings and ad hominem attacks on people of African descent. This is the stuff that we need to be opposing. We need to be shouting out loud and clear that actually this is not our reality. Thank you.